Sav, you've got a different view on it, mate. What are you saying, bro?
A massively different view. Yeah. Listen, I think experience is everything. Look, one thing that we won't know, and look, we won't know till the end of the season, is the business end of the season is not like any other stage of the season. And this Arsenal team haven't got experience of that. Now, listen, what I'll say is this, even as a Spurs fan, Arsenal go on to win this league with Arteta, who's never been anywhere near close to winning a league before, having not even qualified for the Champions League, and with a squad that hasn't got the depth of City. Hats off, fair play to you. You've done it, right? Absolutely brilliant. No one can knock that. However, City for me, this is the telling thing that no one's mentioned. Arsenal still have to go to Man City. And that game for me there is going to be the difference between them winning the league and not. Because City will beat you. And there's no way on earth City will lose that game to you. No way on earth they will lose at their ground to you if it means surrendering the title. And I don't think Arsenal are good enough to not drop any other points in any of the other games between now and the end of the
Arsenal
season.
have a really interesting end to the season. I think in the last 6 games, they play Man City away, Chelsea at home, Newcastle away, and Brighton at home, back to back to back to back.
Right.
That's a really tough set of fixtures.
I think
Brighton again.
They've got
Brighton at home.
Oh. Listen, Man City have got previous, right? Now we can say, Man City, will they bounce back into form? But if you actually look at Man City's form at the moment, apart from the draw against Nottingham Forest, their form is pretty impressive, right? They're starting to win games again. Pep, I summed it up like this about a month ago, right? When they beat us 4-2, actually, we went 2-0 up, and all Spurs fans got excited as normal. Then they scored 4 past us. That's as Spursy as it gets. But I said it almost felt like Pep was bored of winning the league and almost started to play his own version of Football Manager with the club. It was like, okay, I'll just leave De Bruyne out, Silva out, Gundogan out, Diaz out, Laporte out, and he was just trying new things. If you notice, in the last 6-7 games, he's dropped that. He has gone back to all the tried and tested. They've suddenly stopped conceding goals. They're suddenly scoring a lot of goals again. Yeah. And they've got the know-how. And if you didn't have to play them at theirs, I would say, 5 points is a big gap. But for me, 3 points of that 5 is gobbled up right there. And if you look at Man City's running where they've got their last 5 games of Fulham, Leeds, Everton, Brentford, and Chelsea at City. I just think it's the difference between their running and yours. I'm sorry. And
listen,
I'll hold my hands up if you win it.
1 second. I agree with you. City are a good team, and they have a lot of squad depth. Everything you said about that is accurate. The part about the experience, Arsenal's experience, I feel like I can question that a little bit. And also when it comes to City, who's to say that they don't drop points? They're still in the FA Cup. They're still in the Champions League. They still have all these fixtures. So they do have a lot of fixture congestion. We're just getting back into Europe. We're going to see it. The key thing for me that a lot of people are forgetting is how we do our rotation in the Europa League. Do we rotate a lot in the Europa League, or do we go for both and maybe stretch ourselves a little thin?
What do you want to see? Do you want to see a weaker team in the Euro? Are you kind of willing to sacrifice it or play a weaker team and focus more on the Premier League? Or do you think, no, you play your strongest team, a little bit like Ten Hag has done recently, you play your strongest team in every game to try and win every trophy? What would you prefer Arteta to do, Miguel?
We have a lot of players in this team that can be rotated, and we have serviceable options for them. So Thomas Partey for Jorginho. You have a situation where Fabio Vieira might come in for Odegaard on occasion. You have a situation where Xhaka was dropped, so he's probably going to start the next game. So I think it's going to be a situation where you see 3 to 4 changes. You don't see a whole team change like similar to you would see in an FA Cup or League Cup. It's going to be slight.
I understand that.
That's what I'm going for.
So I understand. I understand that, but what do you want?
I want us to try to batter them away from home and have the first tie wrapped up so we can rotate at home and then try to do the same thing. So I'm not giving up on either league
and I respect that. That's why I was asking. I get what the manager might do, but I like to know what fans want themselves as opposed to what the manager might do.
Coming back to the experience part. Zinchenko has experience, if I'm not mistaken. He won numerous Premier League titles. Gabriel Jesus has experience. He won numerous Premier League titles. Jorginho's an experienced player winning a Champions League Euros. If I'm not mistaken, we signed players who are winners to add to this team that was young and to bring that experience through. Also, when listening to some of the greatest managers in world football, like Jose Mourinho, he spoke about the fact that when you sign players of the profile of a Ramsdale or Odegaard, and you have young players coming up from the academy, their hunger and desire can sometimes push you over the edge. Just looking at his documentary today that I was watching about him talking about Porto and the players and the profiles that he brought into that team, that was the thing that galvanized them and brought them and pushed them over the edge to win their Champions League, to win their league titles.
I'm not suggesting at all that you can't win it. I didn't say that.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I just feel that Man City have been there, seen it, and done it.
I get it.
Also, managing Europa League, as you said, managing Europa League games with your Premier League games, and then equally, what someone else just said, your running versus their running. I fancy it if you've got to say who's going to win their last 5 games in a row to win the league, especially if they beat you, right? I fancy City to go 5 on the bounce. I don't fancy Arsenal.
I didn't even finish. This is my point. I agree with you with the experience. They have more experience in totality, but we have more hunger. We have more players who can push us through this to that situation.
Why do you have more hunger?
The reason being, when you continuously win, there's a level of complacency. There's a level of arrogance that you have. There's a level where Man City have done this so many times, it's just become another thing for them. They don't look at it as the same way. They even spoke about it when speaking about the Carabao Cup the other day. They said when they won the first time, they celebrated. When they won the 4th time, it was like business as usual. That can be scary in one sense, but in the same sense, you can look at it as they've dropped off, and that might be the reason. They don't have the same hunger.
You're passing opinion as fact.
Okay, let me give you a fact. Let me give you a fact. Bernardo Silva wanted out of the club. There's been controversy throughout the season. They even had to get rid of Cancelo in the middle of the season. We know some of those players in the dressing room, like İlkay Gundogan, have his contract running down and he's going to be leaving soon. So when you talk about these players at Man City, they don't have as much incentive to push on and have this. They don't have the same hunger.
How do you know that? You've got no way of knowing that. I hate when football fans... When football fans pass off opinion as fact, listen, there are things you can debate on. We can't
Pep said it. Gundogan said it.
You've got to calm down. You've got to calm down. You're crazy.
I'm sorry.
Relax.
My bad. But
we have no idea, right, what Gundogan's hunger is, even though he's leaving in the summer, or Bernardo Silva. I watched Gundogan the other day against Newcastle. He looked on fire. He was amazing, right? These players are winners for a reason, because they don't want to lose. Winners want to win. Now, when they're saying winning the 4th League Cup is business as usual, that is a scary prospect rather than one where they're not taking it seriously. The fact that they just see it as BAU, the fact that they don't have to get the hunger to win that, shows they are winners. Now, I'm not saying you can't win the league, but to say that you've got more hunger than them, you've got no way of knowing that.
They've admitted it.
Who did?
Let me tell you, quotes directly from Gundogan saying that this team lacks the same hunger as previously. Pep Guardiola saying that players in this dressing room are not taking it as serious, even in dressing room. There's reports of this in January. Also, Kevin De Bruyne has come out at one point in this season talking about it also. So it's not me stating something as an emotion, as a fact. It's the players themselves stating it, and that's the facts that I'm bringing to the table.
So if you never heard of psychology, you don't think that Pep Guardiola's coming out, he's pissed off with his team, he's annoyed at what he's seeing. You don't think he's coming out and challenging them by saying these guys don't want it as much as the years before. Funny that since he said that, what's happened?
We still see the results, though. That's the reality. I get it. We still see the results, but it's not a coincidence where 3 or 4 names are saying it. There's clearly an issue where players want to leave the dressing room. These things are things that are reality. Man City,
if they win, if they win, what does it say about your team then? If this team that aren't hungry win the league above your team, what does that say about your players?
We have to see the circumstance of how we drop off or what happens. We can't predict.
Come on, answer the question. You deflect everything. Answer the question.
No, I'm not deflecting. The reality is, if they completely drop off, it will show that you were right. But if they don't drop off and it's a final thing where City just continue the pace, they beat us, and it's like 1 point off at the end, maybe then we can talk about it. It's 2 different narratives. We don't know what the narrative is going to be at the end of the season based on how many points difference. If you can tell me the exact amount of points that we're going to lose by and how it's going to happen, then I can.
If you don't win the league, the only narrative is you've been poor. That's it. You
No, that's not it.
You cracked under pressure. You cracked under pressure.
The only narrative will be who won and who didn't. And listen, I read that article as well from Ilkay Gundogan where he said that after the Southampton defeat, he said that in that game, he said today and in some weeks gone by, we seem to have lacked a little bit of desire that we haven't had in recent years. I think for me, the one question I would pose, and KJ put this into the comment section, so I won't plagiarize, is can't mindsets change? And I think that's what people are talking about when it comes to this run-in, that City will click into gear because it's almost like muscle memory for them. They wait for that point and they snap. I'm on your side, by the way, Gal. I think Arsenal will see it through, but I do agree with the challenge. My only issue with Gary Neville, just to go back to his point, and I've said it in every video, is that I don't feel like he credits Arsenal enough with how much they've... It's almost like Arsenal have improved. But anyway, City. And I think there's a difference. Saying City are going to win the league, I don't think is an unfair opinion. It's not weird to predict City winning the league. Yeah. It's just the way he kind of plays down. A lot of his points hold water. It just bothers me that he puts a lot of energy and effort.
The delivery of them.
And I say this all the time. And I call out all pundits for this type of thing because they are paid by us. We pay their wages by paying for Sky to give us fair analysis. And what I don't like, what I've seen from television pundits in recent years, is they've seen what's worked for content creators and have kind of become a little bit character-esque. And every now and then, even Graham Souness, I agree with something from him that he said yesterday, where he spoke about United players getting a bit too big for their boots. But that's because even when he was playing, when Liverpool were bigger than us, Man United, you always got more fame and attention when United did something well because they're a more famous club. He said it's just like in Germany. I didn't know this. In Germany, a lot of the Germans nickname Bayern Munich FC Hollywood because when you do something there, you just get the fame that comes with being at that club is different. So when I see that kind of punditry, it's like I'm listening because that's what I want from these actual experts that have been there. What I don't want is their pettiness or their bitterness or their rivalry coming out because we have that from fans. The fans are meant to do that, not the people that are paid £10 million a year to give us detailed analysis. That's why I call him out for it.
You know what actually triggers me, and Slap, it wasn't what you were saying. It was just the narrative that Man City, when they win a game tough and they push through and they've been not as good as they've been last season, this is a sign of champion. But Arsenal concede 2 goals and end up coming back. Oh, defensively, we've been shocking and we need to...
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Not you. Not what you said, but the way that you're speaking just triggered me because that's the narrative that I constantly keep seeing.
Can I let you know where I am with Arsenal? Can I let you know where I am with Arsenal, right?
That's gaslighting.
That's as honest I can be.
No, but that's I'll come back to you in a second, Sam. That's a Gal for you. Gal sometimes PTSD. Like earlier when you were like, Terry, you think what I'm saying... You think what I'm saying is bullshit? No, I don't. You just think things, and then you think them so deeply, you think they're actually being said. Calm down. Football's not that serious, Gal. You need to see a therapist.
Yeah, no, I don't, man. I don't need to see a therapist. I'm good. But when it comes to football, I'm just get overly emotional sometimes.
No, it's cool. Terry, can I just say where I'm on Arsenal, right? Listen, one of the things I love to do, I love to see the chat. I think what people think is because I'm a Spurs fan that I'm putting down Arsenal. I've literally said earlier on in the show how Arsenal have gone like that since last season has been magnificent, right? As a Spurs fan, do I want to see Arsenal win the league? Of course I don't, but I hope everyone's probably seen here. I'm a bit more level-headed than that. At the end of the day, if you win it, if Arsenal win this league, I'm old enough and I'm ugly enough to turn around and go, fair play, you deserved it because the team with the most points deserves it. All I'm saying is I think it's going to be so much closer than everyone's making out purely because of the Man City Arsenal game at Man City. If you didn't have that, I would shoo you in right now. But in that game, title's yours. That's all I've said. Right?
I think as well, the thing that gives me the confidence about the City hunger part, and that was a big thing because, Gundogan and Pep have come out and said that. When they beat Arsenal at the Etihad, I know they went on and drew the next game, and that was a horrific result for them. But the way they played at the Emirates, the way they scored their goals, the way everything was around their performance at the Emirates made me think they've got the hunger. And like it was said earlier, Pep Guardiola's going back to basics. Phil Foden's not now being chucked here, there and everywhere. He's back in his best position. and he's doing really well from it. They're going back to basics with how they're attacking. They're trying to utilise Haaland in the way that he should be used. And that's not me knocking Arsenal, because I think Jesus coming back and not having to rely on Nketiah or Martinelli or bringing other players out of position to, cover for it. Having Gabriel Jesus back, if he comes back and doesn't need 3 to 4 games to acclimatise again, that will give Arsenal the edge, because then I think your attack is good, and then Jesus will be playing catch up on the goals. He's got something to fight for.
I'm going to have to go, but love Terry, and I think you were right. Everyone's scared of Arsenal.